One of the things I find so entertaining about YouTube is that it does encourage feedback, and that feedback is always entertaining, and it encourages the most pedantic responses from me, I'm afraid. So I have to guard myself against that if I can, and if I sound too pedantic in replying, it's not intentional. I am aware of the danger. But I want to respond once again about the difference between Wankel and Wankel. And Trevor Austin makes a fair point, and in doing so invites us to revisit an invention that has suffered far too long from careless myth-making. He writes, Tim, are you sure you know what Wankel engines are? To be clear, they are really smooth, low-vibration internal combustion engines that have very high power-to-weight ratios. Their major limiting technologies are around their rotor tip seals. These are essential to achieve combustion efficiency, and unfortunately we still haven't cracked this deficiency. Absolutely. That observation opens the door to a rather delicious irony. The Wankel engine is one of the least wobbly devices ever designed. So the archaic English word Wankel, a cousin of the old Saxon word Wankel, meaning unstable, unsteady, liable to lurch, contrasts with the Wankel engine. Felix Wankel, by some twist of engineering humour, placed his name upon a machine whose very soul is stability, balance, continuity and grace. If there's anything Wankel about a Wankel engine, it is certainly not its behaviour. It is the historical accident of the inventor's own life, a man of questionable biography, attached to a machine of rare elegance. The brilliance of the engine lies in what it refuses to do. It will not thump, judder, stamp, or reciprocate. When the piston engine thrashes away like an irritable musician hammering a piano, the rotary glides through its cycle like a violinist drawing out one long sustained note. No pistons coming up to meet their valves with murderous enthusiasm. No connecting rods eager for mutiny. No camshafts orchestrating 1,000 tiny impacts. Instead, a triangular rotor whirls in its chamber, and every phase of the combustion cycle unfolds simultaneously, smoothly, and with a quiet sense of inevitability. Power comes not as a punch, but as a flowing line. Its virtues are not academic curiosities, but practical advantages. Astonishing power density, serene running, and mechanical simplicity bordering on the monastic. And it will sit inside a cubic foot and produce the sort of output that once required a cast iron juggernaut of pistons and valves. When engineers speak of compactness, this is the engine they point to as the model of how little metal one truly needs to turn fuel into motion. And when one considers the sheer smoothness, the absence of mechanical tantrums, one understands why rotaries found unexpected homes in aircraft, drones, racing machines, and now again in the emerging world of range extenders for electric vehicles. And yet, like all inventions with character, it carries its flaw openly. The apex seal is both the guardian and the betrayer of the entire architecture. It is simple in appearance and devilish in behaviour. One part of the housing basks in cool air, the other roasts in flame. The seal must survive both realms at once, and few materials have ever been willing to endure that punishment gracefully. The consequence is inefficiency, oil consumption, and emissions figures that horrified regulators, not conceptual failure, merely the obstinate resistance of chemistry and metallurgy. It is here that we would return to Felix Wankel, a man whose personal life was far less admirable than his mechanical creation. He never drove his own invention. He never even held a license for driving a car. And his political associations were, to be charitable, deeply regrettable. But engineering has never been the moral biography of its inventors. If it were, half the world's bridges, rockets, medicines and mathematical tools would be ceremoniously dismantled. We separate the person from the idea in the same way in mechanics as we should in art and music and entertainment, because History requires us to. The inventor is transient. The invention, if sound, endures beyond the chaos of somebody's personal life and their indelicate associations. The Rotary endures. It has survived waves of scepticism, regulatory hostility, commercial failure, and a popular belief that it was somehow an eccentric side path in the story of combustion. In truth, it was and remains a profound rethinking of what an engine can be when freed from the tyranny of reciprocation. The piston won the mass market, yes, but that victory was industrial rather than philosophical, and the Rotary, in its way, is a purer expression of rotational motion, a flame moving a shape around a centre without ever pausing to change direction or ask permission of a flywheel. Even its very sound is different, a higher, freer tone, less like labour and more like exhilaration. There's a reason that the wail of a racing Rotary can still raise hairs on the back of the neck. It is the sound of an engine that wants to keep going rather than catch its breath. So, when Trevor Austin reminds us that the engine's only major limitation lies in a sealing problem, he is not minimizing its faults. He is accurately describing the battlefield. That one technical flaw is what has kept a masterpiece from mass adoption, from mass absorption. Solve it and the Rotary returns triumphant. Fail, and it remains the brilliant outsider. But brilliance is brilliance, whether or not it conquered the world. The Wankel engine is a masterpiece precisely because it dared to reject the entire orthodoxy of the piston. It carved its own path, it shaped its own physics, and even if its inventor had a life that wobbled, and it certainly did Wankel, if his life wobbled, stalled, or morally collapsed, his engine, the Wankel, did the opposite. It spun, it soared, it showed what internal combustion could look like when freed from the clatter of convention. In short, the Wankel engine may carry a name rooted in wobbliness and an inventor rooted in dubious history, but the machine itself is neither uncertain nor compromised. It is one of the most elegant solutions ever offered to the question of how to turn explosions into motion, a design that, unlike its etymological ancestor, actually never wobbles.